And we're back. It's old school, new school. Noah Savage, joined as always by my co-host and my father-in-law, Rick Wolf.
Noah, how much did you pay for that song?
$80.
Still think you got ripped off.
Well, 40 once you pay for half of it, depending on whether or not you have Venmo.
Well, the lyrics are good. That's all I'll give you on that.
You know what? I think it's just a little long, but I think the riff at the end is pretty sweet.
All right, so you want to talk about sports and activism. Is that correct?
Yeah, because
athletes who get involved.
Here's what's happening right now is that I don't know if it's because of social media or 24-hour news cycle or increased attention, but it seems like it's coming up again where even though we're in 2017, we're still getting the same kind of two sides of the coin where it's either, hey, you're an athlete, shut up and play, or athletes have a right to have a voice and should use their platform. So a couple examples that we were talking about before is if you look at Colin Kaepernick, obviously he's taking a knee last year to protest police brutality against the black community, and now he's kind of a dude without a job.
Well, the Kaepernick situation is obviously complicated. If you look at it from one level, here's a guy who, if you look at his actual stats in the NFL, it appears that he had one decent year. The other years he played, he was not so good. And you can make lots of excuses that he played on lousy teams and didn't get any pass protection, whatever. But statistically, objectively, if you put aside all of his political views, you might say, well, he's a guy in his late 20s and, he's okay, but is he the very best quarterback our team needs, even as a backup quarterback? That's a tough call. Now, of course, you're going to tell me that, oh, no, he's really being discriminated against because, after all, he had these leanings about kneeling during the national anthem, and that would cause any owner or general manager in the NFL to think, do I want this kind of problem on my team? Yeah. But
Well, I think that what's being lost in everybody's kind of interpretation of this is that everybody wants to play both sides of the coin where it says, okay, we want this guy to be a rebel, do things that are disruptive. That's what a protest is, but then also still get signed, right? Like you could take me through several examples of going back athletes that actually sacrificed. Like Muhammad Ali, when he went to jail, that was in his prime.
Yes, that's correct.
Right, he gave up 4 years of his prime because he was a pacifist and a Muslim, and he wanted to express his beliefs.
But let's go before we get to Ali and other athletes in the last 30 or 40 years who have gotten involved or tangled up with political beliefs. If Kaepernick had stats like Tom Brady, do you think he'd have any problem getting signed?
No, but then maybe it wouldn't be as brave to speak his mind, right?
I'm just saying, at the end of the day, in the National Football League or the National Basketball Association, the reality is the owners want to win. And if you have a player who does bring something to the table on a consistently high level, like a Tom Brady, they're going to say, we understand that Tom Brady is kind of a goofy guy and he only eats kale and he has a vegan diet. But the fact is, we'll bring him in here. Or Dennis Rodman.
Right, but there's only one. Well, that's a good point. There's only one Tom Brady, and there's arguably only one
All right, well, let's
Dennis
go with
Rodman.
Well, Dennis Rodman was a screwball.
But isn't this this is the same argument you can make against any diversity play in any
profession? Yes,
right?
But I'm saying.
Where you go, well, we only hire the best here. But really, there's only, the top 10% are the top 10%, and then everyone else is kind of in the middle.
Yeah, but what you're getting at, what I think you're trying to get at here is, okay, with Kaepernick, clearly he's not getting signed because the owners are worried about the fact that he has these outspoken political views. He's radioactive. He's a hot potato. God knows if he doesn't stand for the national anthem, who knows what he'll do next under the guise of his claim of racial discrimination. Who knows?
Yeah, right.
But the reality is that if he was really good, had a great track record as a quarterback, he would get signed. But he's not. He's like a middle-of-the-road, average, mediocre quarterback.
No, but what I'm actually arguing is that I'm okay with him not being signed because I think that's kind of what you get when you protest. So if you want to, in other words, that's the whole point of protest, right? Is that you're making a stand and you're risking it all. That's the deal.
No.
You don't just get to make a protest and get treated like everybody else. That's not what's going to happen.
I think the owners and GMs are saying to each other, put aside his political views.
Right.
That's not important.
He's just not good enough. That's
He's
what you're
just
saying?
not good enough.
Really?
Yes. Well, I mean, you can't say that because you look at his stats objectively.
He's marginal. He's a backup.
Fine. We're talking about a backup quarterback. I just mentioned. If you look at his stats in his years in the NFL, he had one decent year. The rest were all mediocre.
Right. He played in a Super Bowl. He led the league in rushing.
But there were a lot of guys who had one good year in the NFL. I remember guys like Doug Williams, who was the MVP of the NFL. But, yeah, he's a so-so quarterback. Jim Plunkett. There are a lot of guys, names that you probably never heard of. They had one or two good years, but they weren't towards the end, towards 30 or so. They said, look, the guy's not that good.
Yeah, but that's not my point. My point is if you're going to protest, if you're going to be an activist, then what you're doing is giving up the corporate gig, which in this case is the NFL, right? If you're going to go and say, we're staging a walkout from our school to protest whatever, you're going to get suspended. That's the deal. That kind of goes with it. You can't just say, well, we want to be disruptive, but also be treated the same way as the guy who kind of follows the company line.
I'm just trying to say.
That's what the man is.
I get that, but I'm trying to tell you from the owners or the general manager's perspective on this fellow, they're saying, he's never really been consistent as a quarterback. He's looking to fill a number 2 slot in our team. And do we really want to have the extra possible headache of him staging a protest or doing something that's going to polarize the team along racial lines? You know what? It's not worth it to me.
That's right.
And that's why. So you can say, well, sure, he has a right to do this. Of course he does. But he has to understand that he has to pay the consequences if he decides to go down that pathway.
What about your boy at UCLA, Josh
Rosen? Well, I mean, Josh Rosen is at the under end of this because he's in college.
Yeah.
He's having a fine career at UCLA, although he was injured. But somebody, remember last year, he was politically active, talking about the election and Trump and so on and so forth. And just recently he was playing at a golf tournament, I believe at one of a course owned by Trump. Mm-hmm. And he wore a cap that had an obscenity on it about Trump.
Yep.
And somebody asked the coach at UCLA, well, what about this kid? I mean, and the coach said, he's a college student. College students do have political views, and he's entitled to his views. He's not advocating anarchy or blowing things up. He's just expressing himself. And I'll tell you, Noah.
But you were in college in a very politically
I went to college during the Vietnam War.
Right.
You probably read about it in your history books in high school.
Yeah.
And as much as the country is sort of polarized now, I can assure you it was even more extreme back in the early 70s and late 60s with the Vietnam War, because half the country did not want to have any involvement in sending kids and troops to Vietnam, and the silent majority were all very much in favor of it.
So did you have any teammates who did anything in protest? Or did you have any...
I remember we played... I remember it was like 1971, I believe, and Harvard played in what was those days known as Harvard baseball in the Eastern League. And the Eastern League was the Ivy League schools plus Army and Navy. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget, we're playing on a bright sunny day in April at home against Army. This is the height of the Vietnam War. I mean, right. I'm talking about when kids graduated from West Point, the entire class got shipped over to Vietnam.
Yeah.
And they all had, jarhead, burrhead haircuts. Mm-hmm. The kids from Harvard all had hairs down to their butts. Yeah. And it made for a most unusual predicament in Harvard Army baseball. And I remember there was protest at the game. People went on the field, chanted, got in the face of the Army players who amazingly did not retaliate. Right. But it was pretty ugly. And we're just trying to play a baseball game, but it was routine for these kind of protests to take place. And, did anybody get in trouble? Anybody get suspended from Harvard? No, that's how it was in those days. All athletes, all student athletes were entitled to their opinions, regardless of if they were good, bad, or indifferent.
And did you Did you have any personal protests or anything you did to
Me?
let your beliefs known?
No,
Did your coaches ever address it?
This is you mentioned about Ali. This is during the time when Ali, of course, was on the rise as a championship heavyweight boxer, and is famous for saying that about the Vietnam War and not going to be drafted and being a draft dodger. He said, I got no beef against those Viet Cong. And most of the kids I went to school with felt the same way.
Right.
I mean, the whole, again, this is ancient history now, but the theory that Nixon and those guys believed in was that if Vietnam falls, the rest of Southeast Asia will fall, the so-called domino theory, that if we don't stop the communists in Vietnam, that we're all going to end up being overrun by Vietnamese. That just never happened. So, but no, political activism has always been around, and it's been particularly sanctioned on college campuses because that's what college kids do.
Yeah, I just don't think if I took any political stand while I was in college, I'm almost positive my coaches would have just been like, "Please shut up and play." And the retaliation would have been severe.
Really?
100%.
Really?
Yeah. Literally, we were nervous to, I had my hair long in the summer, and I had a beard in the summer, and I think it annoyed my coach, and I think it contributed to my benching.
But did you grow your hair long or didn't shave because you were protesting something?
No, that's my point. I just grew long for the heck of it.
Well, if he just being,
A slob?
Yeah, a slob and being a laggard.
That's what college kids do, too.
Yeah, but you weren't protesting anything. If the coach said, hey, Savage, you got to stand closer to your razor next time or don't bother showing up for practice.
Yeah.
And he said, Coach, you understand I'm supporting the underprivileged kids of Kansas City or something, and this is how we're protesting. He probably would have been smart enough to realize, oh, okay, fine, I didn't know that you were doing that. I wouldn't know there was a protest.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
But I'm saying most coaches today, even back in your day, if a college kid is protesting something, they're not going to intervene in that because they know that might get them in hot water. As opposed to just saying, yeah, I'm a slob. I didn't want to shave for the last 3-4 weeks. Anyhow, political activism in college athletics has a long and rich tradition. Now, at the professional level, there is a difference. Let's go back to the Kaepernick situation.
Okay.
The pro level, you're getting paid. You're an employee. Okay.
So shut up and do your job? Or?
Well, you go back to like a George Steinbrenner.
Yeah.
And the Yankees have this tradition. Steinbrenner said no Yankee is going to have is going to be able to have a beard or long hair.
Yeah.
And that's just, I'm sure there are lots of lawyers out there who would say you can't mandate that, but that's how Steinbrenner ran the Yankees, and nobody's ever challenged that.
Well, you're masterfully leading us into our second topic, which is ownership and whether or not it matters to the players, right? Because there's every couple of years there's a new celebrity owner, right? Jordan retires, now he owns the Hornets. It hasn't really been great for him, but he is, I believe, the majority owner of that team.
Yankee is too.
Full basketball control as well, very involved.
Right.
Most recently, we've heard about Derek Jeter potentially being part of a group that's going to own
the Marlins.
We've got Magic Johnson in L.A. as the phone rings. Right. Is one of our listeners?
Somebody's calling in to complain, yeah. So go
on. And then most recently, Beyonce.
Yeah.
We might have to take a break. We're going to be right back. And we're back, and that was our number one fan.
Your mother-in-law.
Yeah, your wife, my mother-in-law. Oh, man, we should have put that message on the show. With the old school, by the way, physical answering machine, which is really impressive. So we're talking about owners because there's celebrity owners every 2 or 3 years. And, then there's terrible owners like we saw with the Clippers be replaced. But the question is, does this matter?
First of all, why do you think that, as you know, we've discussed this many times, I'm very comfortable living in the 20th century.
Yeah.
We didn't have to have cell phones and text messaging and email and the internet, all this stuff. So we have an old-fashioned type of, answering machine here at home. It's worked well for 30 years, we don't see reason to get rid of it.
Well, let me tell you something. My best friend, John Anderson, who you know well, the
Yes.
best man, he moved to a condo that doesn't have service. So he
You mean
was forced
service like
cell phone service.
Oh, they mean like waiters and
No,
butlers.
there's no butler there either. But he was forced to get a landline. And
Yeah.
it is phenomenal. It's great.
What?
I love the landline.
That's my point. The landline is
the
terrific.
landline is terrific. I think we both agree with that.
So
We should throw our phones into a lake together and then just get landlines and live our life that way.
and I know we'll get back to sports in a second, but since we're into this topic,
Yeah.
okay, I have a cell phone.
Yes.
Okay, you know that. So the last few days, because I have all my worldly contacts, phone numbers, whatever, email addresses in that cell phone.
Okay.
It is an Apple phone.
Yeah.
Okay? So all of a sudden, the last few days, I'd have it charged, and I'd have it in my hand, and I look down on it, and all of a sudden, it would just be off.
Okay.
The phone would be literally turned off.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, that's terrible. I can't turn back on again. So this went on for 2 or 3 days. I finally spoke to a buddy of mine who's a tech guy. He said, Rick, you got a problem with your battery.
Yeah.
So, okay, fine. What does that mean? So, well, you have to go to an Apple store, and you'll have to get a new battery because these phones have problems with their batteries.
And I
So-
know why you do.
Well, I'm
Okay,
sure
keep
you
going.
do.
I'll tell you why.
So
Dan.
I go to an Apple store today early at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay? A nice young man greets me at the door. He says, what can I do for you? I said, my phone turns on and off by itself. It's charged. But I can't. I got to use this phone. I'm addicted to it now because I used to use landlines.
Yeah.
He says, fine, Mr. Wolf. Here's what you do. We'll schedule you for an appointment, and the next available technician here at the Genius Bar,
Yes.
which is obviously an oxymoron, is available in 2 hours. I said, well, I got things to do. I'm a busy guy. Take my phone, let your technician play with it, fix it, put a new battery in. I'll come back in 2 hours. Oh, no. We don't do it that way here at the Apple store.
Yeah.
You have to be here. I said, well, I'm not going to wait here for 2 hours to see some dweeb that's going to fix
Which
my
Apple
phone.
store? 58th Street?
This is down in White Plains at the Westchester Mall.
Should have hit the Thirsty Turtle.
What the heck is that?
Oh, it's a great bar in White Plains. So,
10
did you
o'clock in
come
the morning?
did you come back in 2 hours?
No, I said, that's ridiculous. He said, well, I said, why don't I just come back when you make an appointment? He says, our next appointment is at 6 o'clock tonight. I said, you're dreaming, pal. This is
Right.
all like customer service 101.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know I'm old school, but I got no use for Apple. So
But that's
tomorrow morning,
that's a line. That's how it always works. You got to get in line.
first of all, don't get me started. Why are these products are so great by the esteemed Mr. Jobs?
Yeah.
Why people have to get them fixed all the time?
Let me explain what happened to your battery.
Please.
I guarantee when you charge your phone at night,
Yeah.
you plug it in,
Yes.
and you just leave it there all night.
Of course.
So if you charge a battery that's at 100%,
Yes.
you're going to end up wearing that battery out. So
Yeah. That's impossible.
that's what happened to me too. My phone right now is not responding to charge. Like I put the charger in and it doesn't.
Wait, are you telling me that if I put my phone in at night and it's already at 95%?
Yeah, don't charge it. Don't charge it.
Well, why does this? First of
It'll
all,
last for days.
why doesn't somebody say that?
I don't know. That's a good question. Also, charge it on airplane mode. It charges like 15 minutes.
Who knew that?
These are life hacks. So
right,
that's
well,
all the time we have.
I mean, if you can have this so-called
Hold on,
old school, new school, go back to landlines. Nobody has to worry about standing in line at the Apple store, making an appointment with some geek to tell me that you shouldn't charge your phone.
I met a guy this weekend whose name escapes me, but my old assistant coach is friends with him, and he's got brain cancer. This is going to be a left turn, but this is a very it's important. And he claims that there's a rise in brain cancer and that it's because of cell phones.
Oh, I've heard that for years.
So my theory is actually we're going to end up going back. Like in 20 years, I really think we're not going to have cell phones like this. We're going to have texting devices and we're going to have landlines.
Well,
And it's going to be a relief.
Well, you know what's going to happen. First of all, that debate has been going on for some time. That if you're using cell phones, it does cause brain cancer.
Yeah.
There hasn't been, from what I can tell, any substantial evidence to prove that.
Right.
But I also agree with you that what's going to happen is cell phones are going to be replaced by chips that'll be embedded in your ear or something,
Yeah.
Your earlobe, and that's how you contact and communicate with your loved ones.
It's very, very far-fetched, and I didn't know you were a conspiracy theorist.
Well, I'm just telling you, let's get back to landlines.
So I love landlines. We're both in agreement with that. So I want to ask you about George Steinbrenner in light of our...
Steinbrenner was not particularly popular with his players.
Really?
No, that's correct.
It seems like once they started winning in the 90s, that tune changed a little bit. Or
Or
is that just people being grateful because they won?
They were being grateful. The fans were being grateful that they won.
But he spent the money. He made the push. He had the tradition of late in the summer, there's a chance, get a bunch of talent. We're going to add Celso
yes,
Fielder.
but that doesn't make the players any happier. The players figure, well, that's his job.
Don't guys want to win?
Of course, but the fact is, Steinbrenner was not popular with a lot of the players that he felt that did not perform well, and he was very blunt about saying. I remember he would say one pitcher just spit the bit, told the media that, and the pitcher was devastated. I mean, the boss says I choke. Yeah, he does. He said you choke. Or remember the late Hideki Arabu, he called him a big what do you call him? A big fat pussy toad. Wow. I mean, come on. But Steinbrenner was very outspoken, and he was adamant about the long hair, and this is my way or the highway, and he kept firing Billy Martin all the time. He was mercurial. Guys, ball players much prefer to play for owners who are quiet and in the background, and they don't want to deal with you. Now, you're going to tell me, well, gee, Mark Cuban, his players seem to love him. I wonder if they do. Cuban is too busy.
Well, I'm basing it on Dirk Nowitzki, who just keeps signing for 2 more years, keeps giving Mark Cuban a break, and it just seems like the level of loyalty is
How
there.
much money does Dirk Nowitzki have now, you think, in his bank account?
He's got a lot.
150, 200 million?
How much do you have?
Not as much as Dirk.
How much do you have? Let me ask you a question.
And
you want
Nowitzki,
$25 million more? You do. It doesn't matter.
Nowitzki, he's 58 years old. He's old school too, right?
Yeah, but he's not that old. He's going into his 20th year. He's got to be 40 almost. But the point is that I think that...
But of course he likes his owner because owners made him worth $200, $300 million.
That's not the point. The point is, does the owner help you win? First, do they pay you? Like, I think Dirk's a rare case. He's got enough money, but will the owner pay you, and then will the owner pay other people so that you can actually win? That's the number one and number two things.
Yeah, but that doesn't – I hear you about that. And, yes, there are certain owners who will pony up real money and do that. But the fact is the players don't think they see it that way. They see it like, there's a guy being generous to me. How was my negotiation? Was it a good negotiation? Was he generous? Did he give me the extra bonus money that I wanted? Mm-hmm. Yes, once you get late in your career, like a Nowitzki, and you start saying, look, I've put enough money aside. I really want to win a championship.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have the wherewithal now to go to the owner and say, we really need a quality point guard. Can you spend some extra cash to get us a point guard? I think we can win this year. That's a little different, but those situations are rare.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the outliers are rare. I think most players don't even think about their owner. You could have a really bad owner that you want to run from, and you have a really good owner that you really love. But most players sit there and go, how many shots am I getting? How many at-bats? How much money? How much fame?
Not to make you feel like you're old school, but I guarantee you there are guys playing for the Hornets now who never saw Michael Jordan play.
That makes me cringe.
Well, that's the reality. Yeah, my man. I used to play on. I watch you on, ESPN Classic.
Yeah, right.
Well, my grandfather used to tell me you were a pretty good basketball player, but they never saw Michael Jordan play. They know Michael Jordan from Space Jam.
It's a classic movie.
I know that, but I'm saying it's not like all they want is how much you're going to pay me.
Yeah, I agree. How much are you going to pay me, by the way?
Well, we'll talk about that. That's why my wife called to remind you.
Can I expense this computer?
Patty called to tell you there was chicken in the fridge.
No,
so I got to feed you.
Craft service is pretty good around here. I got to tell you that much. So, all right, this is going to be our last topic.
For today,
near and dear to my heart, which is the idea of bragging. Which I used to be a huge fan of, to be honest with you. I'd call myself the Sav. I'd let you know how many points a game I was scoring. I'll talk to myself. But now I feel like there's an epidemic in bragging on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. There's just in person.
Look, I'll take your word for it. Again, I think I come from an era where you don't brag about yourself. You'll let the sports writers or the highlights speak for themselves. The old adage about when you score a touchdown, you don't do a bow and arrow routine like Usain Bolt. You just give the football to the referee like you've been there before.
Yeah,
that's how you do it. Let the headlines speak for themselves. But you're right. Seems to be this growing surge of hey, look at me. I'm a star. I'm really good at this.
But I'm not talking about professional athletes, actually. I'm talking about normal people out in their life. I'll give you an example. We were up here at your club, and I was playing basketball against a 12-year-old.
Yep.
He's wearing like $500 shoes. He's wearing limited edition LeBrons.
Okay.
He's not in great shape, okay? I'm not going to lie. The guy could use an extra wind sprint or two, and he's just telling me how good he is at basketball.
He's 12. He's 12.
Going, I'm so good, and I've got a great turnaround. He said, I got a great turnaround jump shot as he shot the ball into the back of the backboard and hit the pole. And I thought, what is the world coming to where...
Was he sincere?
100% sincere. He was not kidding. He was not making fun of himself.
Did you say, son, you stink?
I was really close to saying that. I was like, it's good that you like to play. And then he said, how are my fakes? And I wanted to be like, they're terrible. They're slow. But my point is it was indicative of he just watches his parents post on Facebook. Look at me. I did this. And the weird part about it is that there's a misuse of the word humble now where people go, I am so humbled to receive this award. And I am just so humble to post on Facebook that I got a promotion. I'm so humbled. Oh, my God. I'm so humbled that we bought this new house. People post a picture of the new house they bought and say, oh, my God, I'm so humbled.
Yeah, wait.
If you want, I have a question.
Yeah, but you've morphed into old school. I'm supposed to be telling you this.
Listen, don't tell me what to think, okay? Save that for your computer chip. But here's my question to you. If you agree that there is more bragging going on in society now than there was, unchecked, not ironic bragging, why?
I can't answer, except that people must feel so insecure that the giant wave of endless social media, which your generation invented, like Twitter and Snapchat.
I actually invented Twitter.
You're bragging about it.
Guy stole it from me.
The point is that people must feel like they're being lost in the shuffle, so they're going to grasp anything they can to say to people, look at me, I'm really good at this, even though they're not, or they just feel like it's just silly. I mean, I don't, it's hard.
I agree, and I think that you look on, if you were on Instagram, you'd be like, what the hell is this? You know what Instagram is?
Instagram, it's pictures, right?
Pictures and videos, so you can follow people, and your feed will be whoever you follow. But if all you're looking at is other people's lives and how good they are, you actually start to think like, what the hell is going on in my life?
Yeah, why would you?
But you're only looking at the highlights.
See, I don't understand that. Why would you want to look at pictures of other people's lives when you could be living your own life?
I mean,
to me, it's like, again, your generation, your new school.
Yeah.
All this nonsense is all new school nonsense. It's the same way like when you see, why would a kid who loves video games, instead of going outside and getting real exercise, why would he want to watch on television other kids
play video
games? That's bizarre. And I know it's extremely popular, but I don't get that.
You ever watch poker?
No.
I do.
Oh,
I love watching poker. It's a great spectator sport. But when I watch it,
first of all, it's not a sport.
Game. All right, game.
Yeah, it's like a game.
It's a game
network.
of skill. It's a game of skill.
It's not a game of skill. It's a game of luck.
That's insane.
You might as well watch people opening up tickets for the lottery.
Not true.
Just as boring.
But Alyssa will be like, "What? Like, how can you possibly watch this?"
Yes,
and she's not wrong. It is, but I do watch it. But the point is that there's a level of voyeurism, everybody looking at everybody else's paper in society right now that's epidemic. And I think like it's not good. It's only leading to more and more obnoxious behavior.
Well, I just said, I don't, I guess you're more aware of this, of younger kids bragging about themselves to get some attention or whatever. But I got to tell you, I don't.
You don't see it. You just walk around and live your life.
Live your life. You only got so many years to live your life, and if you're going to spend your time watching other people brag about themselves or play poker on TV or video games, man, you're missing the boat. You are missing the boat.
All right. Well, that's about our time now.
I just want to say this, Noah.
Yeah.
I'm really good at this.
What? I said what? I'm an idiot. All right. That's old school, new school. Thanks for joining us.